We finally just had our first confirmed report that Howie Roseman is indeed making trade calls, but in order to find out who the Birds are calling for, we need to sift through a lot of made-up stories. Also, Key Eagle misses practice, leaving the door open for this rookie, and Jalen Hurts is struggling, but just how bad? Thomas Mott to say is the Thomas Mott Show. Here's a fun stat to start your Thursday. Saquon Barkley has, yet again, won NFC Offensive Player of the Week for obviously beating down and destroying his former team, the Giants, on Sunday. Which means Barkley has now won 2 NFC Offensive Player of the Week awards in 6 games during his Eagle career. He won 3 total in 6 years in New York City. Oh, and Devin White signed with the Houston Texans yesterday, which will also help reduce some of the money Philadelphia owes him. He might actually get a chance to play on a defense led by former Eagle linebacker D'Amico Ryans. Also, one more thing, the Eagles announced yesterday that they signed Jack Driscoll to the active roster, brought Paris Campbell back to the practice squad, and also signed former Baylor defensive tackle Siaki Ika. But let's be honest here, you're not interested in these little minor details, you're interested in the trade news, so without further ado, here's what we know. First off, you've probably seen the report going around that the Eagles are interested in Rams wide receiver Cooper Kupp, after LA officially made him available for trade the past couple of weeks. Now, if your BS alarm didn't immediately go off when reading this because the Eagles had already given up a 3rd-round draft pick for Jahan Dotson and still don't use him, well, maybe you need to recalibrate your BS alarm. This report actually came from the fake news Twitter account ML Football, who cited no sources and yet claimed this report to be an actual fact, which was not only immediately denied by an Eagles reporter in James Simone, but virtually confirmed by Diana Rossini following the DeAndre Hopkins trade to KC when she said, quote, "The Rams and the Chiefs discussed Cooper Kupp, but the Super Bowl champs needed to trade with a team that was willing to take on a large chunk of the salary and didn't want to give up high picks. Tennessee is the team willing to play ball." Cooper Kupp has almost $60 million in dead cap money over the next 2 seasons, so if you really think Howie Roseman was going to call the Rams, offer a 2nd-round draft pick, and try and bring in another receiver to one of the most loaded receiver rooms in the NFL, again, I don't know what to tell you. This is absolutely false. There's no chance Kupp becomes an Eagle. Oh, and as far as the Eagles trading for Maxx Crosby, watch this and tell me what you think.
I'm not trying to leave, you know what I mean? Like, I know it's a business, you know what I mean? I don't have 100% control, all that, but like, I want to be here. I want to be silver and black. I'll say it loud and clear. I want to be a Raider. I've said that over and over and over again.
Also, there's been no update on the Myles Garrett situation, other than the fact that what I said the other day is 2 first-round draft picks plus a player plus a couple of second-round draft picks. It's got to be too much. I don't think Philadelphia's going to call Cleveland. Also, I want to give a quick shout-out to the sponsor for today's video, HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. During football season, life gets pretty busy for me, which is why HelloFresh is perfect for not only me, but everybody, with fully customizable and delicious recipes that help you save time and money. My wife and I love to cook dinner together, and having HelloFresh deliver fresh ingredients that aren't only pre-portioned but dropped off right at our front doorstep has really been awesome. Think about how nice it'd be to spend less time at the grocery store and more time together cooking a delicious meal right from your home. Oh, and did I mention that HelloFresh meals have over 50 different dinner options that give us some new flavors and plenty of combos to try while staying geared towards our healthy lifestyle? I mean, just look at all the different preferences you can choose from. You can customize these meals to fit your lifestyle, taste buds, preferences, whatever you want. They got meat and veggies, pescatarian, quick and easy, and even family-friendly. Personally, I'm a meat and veggies guy, but again, it's up to you. Thanks to HelloFresh for sponsoring today's video. Go to the link down below and use promo code TMSOCT10 and receive 10 free meals plus breakfast for life. 1 breakfast item per box while subscription is active. If you're in the US, the link and code are valid in all countries and their respective local discount will apply. But that's all the nonsense, rumor, clickbait trade stuff, the players that we're not gonna get. Let's get into the ones we actually have made calls for according to multiple reports. First, though, the winner of the Kelly Green sweater giveaway, drumroll please, Malfarious. So Malfarious, shoot me an email, found in my description box to claim it. All the details are down there. Do it quick or I'll pick somebody else in a couple of days. Okay, real trade reporting stuff. How about Albert Breer saying yesterday that, quote, the Eagles are a team that is likely to check in on the pass rush market prior to the NFL trade deadline. Howie Roseman calls on just about everyone. And of course, that's true. Howie does call everyone. He probably did call the Raiders and he did call the Browns just to kind of learn the price and then immediately hang up. The more likely pass rushers would be Cleveland's Za'Darius Smith, who has a base salary the next 2 seasons, which is less than $2 million each. Or how about Saints edge rusher Chase Young, who's on a 1-year, $13 million deal, but is underwhelmed this year with just 1.5 sacks. There's also Giants edge rusher Azeez Ojulari, who played pretty well against Philadelphia a couple of days ago. I doubt you trade him in the division, but again, a cheaper option at pass rusher, someone like a Chase, someone like a Za'Darius Smith, Azeez Ojulari, all these names make way more sense than Philadelphia trying to give up the sun, moon, and stars for Myles Garrett. In fact, the only actually named player we have actual reporting on that Philadelphia is interested in, again, according to a real report, is New England's Josh Uche, who's 26 years old and has 2 sacks this year. Philly was linked to him during the offseason, a solid young option, but again, much, much cheaper than a Crosby or a Garrett. And that's kind of the point of today's show. Like, the clickbait headlines are going to be all about Garrett and Cooper Kupp and all these other players the Eagles are not going to go ahead and get, when historically, Howie goes for the lesser-known players trying to find a deal at the deadline. The problem is, Howie's not been that great at trade deadline moves if you go through the list. Like, starting with last year, trade deadline, they get safety Kevin Byard, who is playing really well right now, obviously with the Bears, but when he was in Philadelphia, he was one of the worst safeties in the National Football League. Okay, prior to that, how about Robert Quinn, which, again, was a double-digit sack guy for Chicago, but then was traded to Philadelphia and virtually couldn't find the football field. An absolute bust of a move. Or a little bit earlier, how about Jannard Avery, who, again, mid-round draft pick, could he become something? The answer was hopefully, but the actual result was no. Even further back, you got wide receiver Golden Tate. That was the last offensive move that they've made in a long time. And while Tate did have the game winner in the double doink playoff game against the Bears, he only played like 10 games for Philadelphia, and again, never turned out to be anything special. Honestly, the lone hit in recent trade deadline history was the Super Bowl year in 2017, when Howie sent a 4th-round draft pick to Miami to bring in Jay Ajayi to help the Birds win the Super Bowl. And Ajayi was really good. He added to this now 3-horse monster at running back with mix-up of Clement and obviously LeGarrette Blount, and then Jay Ajayi himself, that, again, was good, but after the Super Bowl year, Ajayi never really turned into anything and was not a long-term successful trade for Philadelphia. And so with less than 2 weeks left, again, couple of notes here. Look at the reporting. Who is actually reporting on the Eagles are calling Cooper Kupp? Is it a Twitter account or is it an actual, real reporter like an Albert Breer saying Philadelphia is calling, but it's for this player, not that player? So again, trying to help you guys out. The trade deadline is always fun. It's always exciting. Will they make a move? I think they will. Will it be not necessarily a massive move? The answer is definitely yes. Now, in terms of what's happening actually on the field, the Eagles were without Zach Bond yesterday during Wednesday's practice as he was out with a shoulder injury that reportedly happened at some point during the Giants game. Not really sure exactly when or how serious it is, as there's been zero indications as to whether or not he'll play on Sunday, but he was spotted off to the side, kind of warming up on his own, so maybe just precautionary. Remember last week, Jalen Carter missed a practice. We all kind of went, oh no, and then he played great, had 2 sacks versus the G-Men, and not necessarily a big deal. So we will monitor the Zach Bond situation, but I'd say it's safe to say if Bond can't go, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., who they're very high on, will probably slide into his spot. Also, Mekhi Becton, he missed with a concussion. I bet he's a no-go just based on the fact the prior Eagles who've had concussions the past couple of weeks have missed at least 1 game. But the good news is Tyler Steen has been really good. He was fantastic on Sunday versus the Giants. And the O-line, no matter who's lined up, seems pretty confident about what they have in the building.
Yeah, so it's from day one, the emphasis in the offensive line room is regardless if you are a starter on that day or not, that you will prepare like a starter, you will practice like a starter, treat everything you do as if you were starting. And that's just the standard that we've set from day one, so that you know that when a guy goes down or gets hurt and the next guy comes in, you have trust and faith in them. Because offensive line, it takes, all 5 guys there being on the same page, knowing how that guy beside you is playing and what, his thought process is. So, from day one, that's just kind of the mindset going in, and it helps. You see kind of how it's gone this season with guys going down, getting injured, guys having to step in. So
finally, it's not a Thursday show without mentioning Jalen Hurts, who, yes, has been turnover-free the past 2 weeks, which is really, really good. But I saw a very interesting video on Ross Tucker's podcast yesterday where Greg Cosell viewed Jalen Hurts as not necessarily being that good and says he's definitely struggling and holding the Birds' offense back. Listen to this.
They're a difficult offense to watch right now. Jalen Hurts is not playing very good football. They're a running football team. Their defense has played a lot better the last couple of weeks. Now, people can say they beat the Giants and the Browns, and that's fair because those are 2 of the lesser offenses in the league. But if you just look at what they're doing and how individuals are playing, they're playing better on defense. But the Eagles can't sustain, if they want to be a true playoff team, they can't sustain the way they played last week. Your quarterback has to be a bigger factor. Jalen Hurts, for whatever reason, Ross, and he's played a lot of football games, and you do them in the preseason, so you're familiar with him. For whatever reason, he's just not seeing things clearly right now. Basic concepts he's not seeing, and that really handicaps and hamstrings your offense when your quarterback just can't execute basic concepts, and that's what he's struggling with right now.
Everybody in the media seems to have an agenda when talking about Jalen Hurts, but I do think Greg Cosell is about as honest as they come. But he's also saying, hey, Hurts has not necessarily been terrible. He's just not helping his football team in the way an elite quarterback should be able to do. The good news is it's only been a couple of games, and so the hope is, and I think Cosell mentioned this, is that things will turn around, he'll start to play better, and when he does, this offense that has won the past 2 games and scored a bunch of points versus a very good Giant defense can be even better. It's also nice to hear Jalen Hurts admit that yes, there are plenty of problems, especially early on in games, that can definitely be fixed.
We got to do it cleaner. It's been some funky things that have happened. You have a tip ball, you have a false start. We were not really helping ourselves in these situations, so that's why I'm excited about what's to come, because it's all things that we can fix, and it's been different things that have come up in each game. So the most important things is coming out early and staying ahead of the sticks, and that's procedurally, that's executing wise, and just getting positive plays. And so I think if we can help ourselves with that, find ourselves in a different situation.
I do think we need to see a much better version of Jalen Hurts than we've seen the past 2 weeks on Sunday versus Burrow and the Bengals on the road. It's not necessarily a great Bengals defense. I'll detail all of that in my Saturday morning, preview for that game. But it is a defense that can be opportunistic and can definitely get pressure on Jalen Hurts. And I do think Burrow's going to be much better than Deshaun Watson and Daniel Jones. Basically a given. Overall, I think the Birds are going to have a really good chance to win on Sunday. Give me your score predictions down below. Be sure to go ahead and subscribe and drop a like. I'm Thomas Mott on a Thursday. This has been the Thomas Mott Show.